Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another live stream / recording of Hearthstone. Took a little bit longer to set up today than normal, so if you've been watching from the beginning, apologies there. So let's see. Really shouldn't trade out of 50, but let's do it anyways. There we go. So, I should trade it out to 5 Tavern Brawls. Oh man, that was a mistake. Is there any way to recover from this at all? Can I challenge somebody and do a Tavern Brawl? I don't think you can. Oh no. Well, we're only going to get two quests done today, which I guess works slightly in my favor since there's not a lot of news going on right now. The aftermath of E3 and Steam Summer Sales is taking a lot of people's attention. We suppose we need to play 50 Priest class cards and then 30 Battlecry class cards. I can do that relatively easily with this. So let's start here, and that'll be Battlecry class cards. Start our timer. Eventually, it will get down to the point where I'll need to stop making 45-minute long episodes and go back to making 30-minute episodes, but maybe not. This is,
Jaina versus Malfurion.
well, yeah, I already said this was going to be a quick one, so let's mostly just an elemental last turn. Let's just start going down the news. I thought I was going to end up streaming, well, before I get on to the news, on Sunday, and I was thinking to myself, man, every time I've streamed on a Sunday, nobody has been available. Arguably, these past few streams have been declining. However, even with the decline of comments and interaction, there has been a continuous, or at the very least consistent, increase in views and increase in subs. So streaming still seems to be very much the way to go. So if it becomes just normal for me to stream and people just watch it that way and they don't comment, well then I'm gonna eventually learn to stop bringing up comments and try and stop doing my small attempt to try and get people to comment.
Wanted, dead or alive.
But this certainly is one of those days where conversations could certainly be helpful. At any point, conversations can be helpful because the people have different thoughts and ideas and different questions, and if people ask me those questions, then I can at least think about something new and not just end up repeating myself. As I was finishing up covering L.A. Noire, which is a mess of a game, really. It would have been done a lot better if it wasn't made by Rockstar as a company. It wasn't made by one of the actual Rockstar offices. It was made by Team Bondi, but which is a now out of business company out of Australia, but still, that it definitely had a nasty sentimentality and felt like more GTA than it should have, considering it's a story that's supposed to be taking place in the 1940s of a detective noir tale. Let's see. Battlecry this, or I guess I'm gonna do this. Interesting.
Your history.
Job's done.
But yeah, as I was recording LA Noir, I'm getting back into some very, very tired rants that I bring up a little too often about economics and just my perspective on how the United States works, and things I've said before and other things. I go back and I think about and look at what some of the things I did on my first series, The Binding of Isaac, and how some of those rants went on, and some of them were good, some of them were crazy, a lot of them may have been crazy, but a lot of them were also burnt out of my mind too. It's like I don't think I'd ever have some of those conversations. Let's see. This is a death rattle.
Nice to meet you.
There's an enemy. I guess I can do this.
That minion already attacked.
Attack there. There we go. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about LA Noir. We could go ahead and say there's a rumor that the LA Noir is going to be in VR. If that really comes out, that they're going to make a completely different version of LA Noir, because there's no way with the running and gunning elements and the driving elements, there's no way any of that works in VR. Or the boxing elements. Maybe you could get that to work. Let's see. I guess I need to do this. And then this. What should I do? Divine Shield.
Chill out.
You're hissing.
There we go. The Rockstar Take-Two drama is still going on. Rockstar tried to put out a press release saying, we're gonna try not to sue people, but Take-Two can still do whatever it wants whenever, is how I took it. So it's not really a commitment or anything legally binding or anything like that. Open4, in a similar way, has put out an update, so I don't know if this is in defiance of the cease and desist. In all honesty, if you get a cease and desist, I think you might, in the same way that if you get a copyright strike on YouTube, you might as well simply oops. I think you might as well just continue as is and ignore it. Like, it's probably not legally the smartest thing in the world, but in a lot of ways you might as well say, take me to court. I'll see you in court. I'll fight you, and call their bluff. Particularly when you get copyright strikes and content and things, and particularly, I suppose, if you're broke, let's see them get a judgment against you, and then they're never able to actually claim anything. It would still, because of the way YouTube is designed, if you get a content ID strike, it would potentially ruin your channel anyways, but it's potentially ruining your channel to begin with. This has certainly come out because in what seems to be an insane move over a dispute of non-payment or underpayment, a music composer has decided to claim things that they don't claim music in a video game that they don't have the rights to, apparently, because there's a screenshot of a contract that says She was a contractor, and thus all the copyrights belong to the creators. Now, is that contract valid? That would be something you'd have to go into the courts and to find out. But instead of handling this as a private matter, the music composer has issued manual copyright strikes to as many YouTubers as they can find. And in this case particular, it seems like you should dispute it and say, take me to court, because clearly if this person, one would assume if the person is not willing to go to court to get their payment, if they are due payment, they're probably not willing to file court fees to try and uphold copyright strikes. And that's the thing, is within 14 business days, they have to show, allegedly at least, they have to show that they've actually filed a court date and done legal proceedings, and in a lot of cases this is not going to be the case. For my own copyright content ID woes, which nobody has ever manually copyrighted me, thank God, but the E3 streams all got a lot of content IDs, and they pop up and they pop down because I imagine what's happening is a lot of other people are trying to put the E3 conferences in the content ID system, and people are fighting it, and YouTube is actually looking at it and going, no, you don't own all of the audio and video of this press conference, or no, this can't be in content ID because it's a freaking press conference in the first place. But on top of that issue, it also seems like it's likely that Ubisoft, Microsoft, I don't think Microsoft had content ID. I think Ubisoft did, and Bandai Namco did. I don't think they're gonna get around to confirming a content ID claim after I've disputed it, because I disputed it right when everybody else would have been disputing it. In the long run, it's not gonna get me but maybe a few pennies in ad revenue. Or in a lot of cases, it may not have gotten me any ad revenue, because the content ID system is still very much not the way YouTube portrays it. And if somebody claims no monetization on a content ID, they say, we don't want anybody to make any money with it. As soon as you dispute that, you would think, well, then ads would start showing up. Not the case at all. So only if the person is trying to take your money through a false content ID can that money be withheld. If the person is just trying to screw you out of money and saying, well, we just want no ads on it at all, that totally works. And it's part of the many, many unfair systems that are, in a lot of ways, only becoming more and more unfair in YouTube. Let's see. Speaking of YouTube, VidCon happened. I didn't pay any attention to it. Real YouTuber people aren't gonna. People that watch YouTube aren't really gonna pay too much attention to VidCon. VidCon is kind of this elitist thing, I would say, of the top YouTubers getting together and having a nice group think session, I'm sure. Like, certainly I didn't get an email invitation to it or anything like that as a small not really succeeding YouTuber. They announced in some odd places that there were some organizations that they were supporting for, I think, diversity's sake, one of which was Turkey. which I'm like, okay, that seems like an odd location, but whatever. Speaking of diversity, one of the random spam channels that follows me, it claims to be the only video game company in Iran, and I'm like, ooh, that would be interesting if true. I don't know if it really is true or if it's simply just a fake company, which probably it is, or I don't know exactly what kind of games that they would be making anyways. So they might just be making phone games, they might be making something else. I guess one of the reasons why you don't have a lot of video game companies in the Middle East and in Africa in general is that while there are some really, really rich portions of those countries and populations of those countries, I don't think the vast majority of people even have cell phones that have a data plan that could play any kind of game or even download any kind of game. So they very well might be stuck at just playing like a Nokia Snake game or Free Cell or Solitaire, whatever came pre-installed. If you can think nearly 20 years back to when the first cell phones had pre-installed games and you couldn't get anything else, really.
Who knows what secrets will uncover?
Nice to meet you.
Well, that doesn't help anything, does it? That didn't help anything at all. But yeah, they want to prove that they are... YouTube wants to prove that they're trying to be diverse, and they really do want to be diverse because there's internal desire to do that. And honestly, the only way they're ever going to succeed at being diverse is not the way they want to try to accomplish it. They want diversity through promoting minorities or special classes, where the only true diversity they can ever hope to achieve is just diversity through a laissez-faire, hands-off approach, which is not what YouTube wants to be, because if they have to take a hands-off approach, then they stop demonetizing episode videos that they don't agree with. They stop going for the family-friendly advertising. At the end of the day, if you want advertising, you're doing what we see on TV channels. Are TV channels full of diverse content? Absolutely not. It's all family friendly on the prime time. It's all the same romantic comedy or dramas, sci-fi shows on the Sci-Fi Channel. There's almost no diversity on cable TV and TV in general. And when you talk about diversity as the people instead of diversity of the content, well, you can't, TV doesn't have any of that either, really. Rydo. Not a lot of it. Because if, say, you get a minority channel like BET, then there's that channel is just effectively segregated, or segregating itself. Even when you get a minority show, like some of the shows that show up on Fox, it's still very segregated. Even the Netflix, like, Luke Cage series, you can clearly see that Luke Cage, compared to Iron Fist or Daredevil, like, Luke Cage is set in an area where almost all of the people are African American, and then compare that to Daredevil and Iron Fist, where almost all the people are white people of some sort. Of course, I'm talking about race again, which is probably going to get me in trouble eventually, but whatever. So they self-segregated them. Netflix self-segregated themselves that way, and so that's hardly the mixing pot that we would like the United States to be.
Welcome to Gadget.
The one thing, I guess, out of VidCon that was slightly interesting to me is they've announced that it seems like they might be implementing some of the things I suggested. I'm not sure. Again, anytime I say something like that, I'm not trying to claim that I was the one and the only one that suggested improvements to the YouTube video manager, but I imagine a lot of people like,
I'll get 'em.
Job's done.
like, I imagine a lot of people have been asking for improvements on the YouTube video manager. If they actually make some major improvements, then I signed up for the beta as quickly as possible, so that I could try it. We're gonna see. It's gonna be a lot easier for me to make sure videos get released on the right time, hopefully, and data is consistent and accurate. Hopefully, this will also cause the YouTube to better suggest videos. They also are claiming YouTube's gonna be better at giving feedback as far as why certain videos seem to become popular, which might be helpful in improving it. But yeah, the other thing about VidCon is I imagine what happened is that a lot of people were still upset with the black box algorithm labeling a lot of LGBTQI whatever letters are after that channels as sexual content, and then putting them in restricted mode, which is the mode for highly restrictive schools like elementary schools, or perhaps maybe if you were going to a heavy, highly morals coded college, they would turn on restricted mode to YouTube. It's almost an unlikely scenario, though, because if you're going to a school that's going to highly filter your internet access, I don't think they would find restricted mode acceptable, and that's what the numbers say, because like less than 1% I think actually uses restricted mode. Anyways, those things were, people apparently were still upset about that, and so they kind of just reissued the same statement, and in reissuing the same statement they had they're like, we like LGBTIQ people, we want to promote them, and we want to encourage them. There is some weirdness when you look at the real statistics, though, of just how much how many people they are trying to promote compared to the regular population. Like, and it gets messed up a lot too. I'm trying to be kind as I say this, but like, there's probably a decent percentage of homosexual people, but when you also add, when you look at how many people are queer and how many people are transgendered and how many people are intersexed, like, those numbers get smaller and smaller and smaller. And in the United States, at least, being homosexual is almost is approaching not being stigmatized at all. So they're approaching to the point where they're not even much of a minority. They still are going to be a minority, but they're not much of it. And so they then have to they're getting lumped together with more of the minorities. I don't know. When you have such a big group, you don't even know what issue applies to what group.
Can I light your fire?
So I'm claiming ignorance here, obviously. That's what I'm saying. Is that sometimes it feels like I could back some of their ideas, but then it feels like some extreme minority group tries to latch on to a more mainstream mentality, and then they try to pressure you to back things that don't make logical sense. Why am I talking about this? Let's move on. Video games. Yeah. Like, I'm not a political commenter, reactioner, whatever, drama channel, so, like, and maybe I'm just old-fashioned and don't know what I'm talking about. That's certainly what a lot of people would claim anyways. So I would say the one thing I would like to see more diversity in inside the internals of YouTube and Google in particular is a diversity of perspectives. So it's not all liberal perspectives. Like, I know a lot of that is because they're all in LA and they've all got that LA mindset. And I do particularly have kind of a dislike of LA and that way of thinking, in a similar way that I kind of don't like the New York mindset in a lot of ways too, for kind of being a very opposite form of extreme. Interesting.
Cooking time.
So yeah, if they could get somebody in there like me, like I would volunteer to go work for them and just tell them, look, stop having special events. Stop talking about wanting more women's voices on YouTube. Look, you're doing nothing on YouTube to stop women from making YouTube channels. There's either a reason that women don't want to make YouTube channels, probably because they're smart enough to realize it won't make money and they can get better jobs and better pay somewhere else. But you can't just constantly promote people. It's like trying to hire what would be a good example? I'm trying to make an allegory here that's not going to succeed. I know this. Trying to hire PhDs to flip burgers. It's just never going to happen. There's a good example. It's like a doctor, let's say a medical doctor, is not going to go work at McDonald's, regardless of how often McDonald's tries to say, we want to promote doctors, we want more doctors working at our restaurants. It's like, no, they have better options. They don't want to do it. Everybody on YouTube can turn off comments. Everybody on YouTube gets bad comments. That's the only argument that anybody can even begin to make as to a reason why there's fewer women on YouTube, is that women feel like they're being specifically targeted because they're women, and I think guys just realize that that's just the trolly nature of YouTube. And I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there that think they're being specifically targeted too. Anyways, gosh, man, I cannot get off this rant. I cannot get off this rant. I guess it helps, though. I mean, it's something I've been thinking about, and VidCon, and every time YouTube does something like this, it's ridiculous. Because YouTube is always dead silent and completely unhelpful to other YouTubers. Except for when they want to promote some minority group because of a liberal mindset. It's unacceptable, in my opinion. It's just sucky. Like, I would be cool with YouTube always being quiet and just saying, you know what, no, we're not going to help anybody, we're not going to do anything, we're just in the background, we've got a small team working on this site, we know they have far too few people working on YouTube in general, but that's not what they do. They speak up when they want to be when they want to speak up, and then they hide behind the idea that they're too small, that they can't run their own website when it's convenient. And inherently, I think it comes right from the top. I think either a change of attitude or a change of leadership needs to probably happen at YouTube. And with a change of attitude and change of leadership, I think YouTube could embrace trying some new things and being a better service, and maybe maybe if they had more competition, they would be forced into something like that. Well, that's the battle cry cards. And I don't know how long we've been going. I want to end this rant though, so I'm going to go on to YouTube news. Let's see, tomorrow will be Tavern Brawls, and I will have to either come back and trade this or do something different. We may just do something out of order. At a certain point, it might just make sense to stream every day and the rest of my channel be damned. Never have any time to... I need to play with these cards here. Do anything else. But I don't see a point to that then, because then I'm just trying to get a rather insignificantly small number of views, and sorry to say, but an insignificantly small amount of subscribers. Like, it's a weird way to phrase this, but I'm not ready at the moment for my fans to take over my channel. And that is a weird way to put it, but that's kind of how I feel. Like, at a certain point, if I was as big as PewDiePie, clearly the fans have mostly taken over his channel. Whatever his fans wants him to do, he kind of has to do it. PewDiePie tries to fight against that a little bit and do whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, if PewDiePie decided he wanted to be a knitting channel about knitting, everybody would abandon it. Everybody would unsubscribe, and his channel would fail to the point where I don't think he would find it acceptable.
Face the light.
So, yeah, the fans have control of that. But right now, at barely 150 subscribers. My best video having over 80,000 subscribers. I'm approaching, I think, 180,000 views. My best video having over 80,000 views. Right now, those numbers are kind of big, but not really. And my fear is that if Hearthstone streaming, which is the only thing I'm doing right now that's succeeding a lot more than anything else, was the takeaway, was the takeover, and said,
Face the light.
and because of that,
Face
I
the light.
just always was streaming Hearthstone, and that's all my channel would be. Then the 700 plus Steam games that I have that I really do want to play, the hidden gems from the past that I'd like to find, the classics from the past that I'd like to pay, all of those get thrown out the window and become a huge waste. And I become personally a little unhappy. Like, I'm not going to be happy playing Hearthstone. I'm not happy really playing Hearthstone right now. It's alright, but it's not my one and only passion. It doesn't fill me with unbridled joy every time I play. It's long, it's frustrating, and tedious. Let's just be honest. Let's see. How can we do this? This, and then this, and then this.
Job's done.
Attack. So yeah, that statement without really a resolution is really just saying I still want to do my channel like I'm doing it. I like the TV idea. Maybe I'm the only one that likes the TV idea of having 5 different series come out every Monday through Friday, so that it has something hopefully for everybody. But yeah, I don't want to abandon that and then have only one live stream come out. And frankly, it wouldn't probably work either, because let's say on average I get only 3 views for the 5 videos that come out per day, which might be right. That 3 views times 5 is 15 views. It's still more than what I typically average on the live stream in the first day. And hopefully these numbers go up after the second day it's out and the third day that it's out, but I don't know. Anyways, like I'm kind of stalling at this point. Like, let's see how much time we have left on the timer. We're about 8 minutes. So,
Job's done.
so I guess I have to move on. Here's a story that's not very video game related. The Windows 10 builds have been leaked. Most of the builds were freely available anyway. They were just like the fast ring beta builds of Windows 10, and some small amount of source codes to drivers were leaked, which probably isn't going to help too many people or make Linux run better or anything like that. So
how many fingers do you see?
5 to a million.
Job's done. Get down!
It would be really groundbreaking and amazing if Windows source code was released. It could potentially make Windows a lot less secure, but in all honesty, it probably would make it a lot more secure, because then internal security audits could be started on it, and we could patch it. One imagines you might be able to
Embrace the void.
you might be able to
Does
what's
this
the
hurt?
phrase? Improve upon. I did that wrong. No. You could probably try to make a new version of Windows without Microsoft's involvement, using all their source code, and make a better version of Windows. It would be highly illegal, but like,
Reporting for duty.
that would be interesting. Or at the very least, it would more than likely just improve Linux.
Are lost.
Alright. And
this
let's
hurt?
see if this wins. The Steam Summer Sale is going on, of course, but I have noticed that I've been more picky here, and I think I'm gonna go that way. After I bought the games I'm probably gonna buy, although I am thinking there is a nice little scheme here with the Steam Link devices down to $15 each. If you bought a couple of them, you would get 3 trading cards. If you buy just one, you're gonna only get 1.5 trading cards, and because it's $10 roughly per trading card, which isn't a lot of trading cards for spending $30. But on the other hand, it's a better deal than if you had spent the same $15 and bought it from Amazon. A slightly better deal if you care about trading cards and getting badges and leveling up, and leveling up to get booster packs, to get more trading cards, or sell the booster packs. I also found out that you can just buy booster packs and trading cards for games you don't own, which certainly puts a different spin on it, because then in theory there are on the market booster pack cards that were as low as 5 cents. If you can buy multiples of those at 5 cents and make a badge out of it, and it raises your level and helps improve everything. There we go. Helps improve your chances of getting more booster packs. There is this thought that, like, maybe you could beat the algorithm and make money on this, but I suspect the algorithm is heavily balanced, so you never can, because you only get booster packs when the entire community works together to make more. To make more badges, which kind of only happens during the Steam Summer Sales. Honestly, that's the only time I really care about badges or anything. That's the right way to do it too, because every time you craft a badge for a different game, you get a trading card for the Summer Sale special.
In the light's name.
Special badge that can be infinitely leveled up. Eventually, you're going to be limited to only level 5. I think I said level 3 before. You can only get level 5 badges on other games, and then foil versions of that too, and then you can get the foil version up to level 5 or level 3. I'm not even sure. But there is that element that you hit a wall at a certain point, and if you want to go higher than that wall and try to get ahead of the curve and manipulate the algorithm to get you more booster packs, at a certain point you are going to have to go for those summer sale levels. I still don't really understand the sticker pack stuff though.
How many fingers do you see?
It doesn't seem like it's really going to do anything. I imagine if you get all of these sticker packs, something will happen. All the stickers for the sticker pack, but that's it. But the more important thought, I would just say, yeah, think about, if you were thinking about getting the Steam Link, even though there is a chance that they're going to come out with a Steam Link 2, for $15, that seems like a budgetable thing to do. Sadly, it doesn't look like there's a great amount of hacking you can do to it. That would be what I would like to see it do more of, is be reusable as something else. Maybe a Linux box that does something. Maybe even an Arduino or something similar to that. But I haven't seen any projects like that. So I'm thinking I'm going to spend another $30 to get those. Get a couple of them. Maybe one to hack and one to keep in proper running order. But yeah, when I was looking at my games, which is what I was trying to say, is that I purchased, a lot of them came in bundles and stuff, and a lot of them just have this mixed reviews. But also, I would say a lot of games that got recommended to me didn't have any reviews, and I kept finding myself being rather picky about that too. So like new games that have been out for a month but no reviews that count, because there's like either no reviews or 2 reviews that were given for free through Steam codes. And as I'm going through the discovery queue and I'm looking at some of these, I'm like, some of these look good, but they don't have any reviews. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I want to be picky. And I can throw out games that are mixed. Although maybe right now a lot of games are being labeled as mixed because a lot of new people are playing them for a second and then saying, nah, don't like it. But if I'm ever going to break a new game, if I'm ever going to cover a game that hasn't been covered by everybody else, I am going to have to start approaching some of the games that maybe just came out, or in some other way oops, I guess I should have attacked, or maybe nobody knows about. And I feel like the discovery engine must have been improved here. This feels like more than just the fact that everybody is downvoting GTA 5. I imagine I'm also seeing a decent number of games that were approved during the end of Greenlight, and maybe Steam Direct is happening and having an effect, maybe not. Oops, I messed up there.
Where shall I strike? Where shall I strike?
So while I'm okay with being more picky and maybe taking some of the cheaper games that I didn't really invest in and saying, you know what, these are mixed, I'm not going to play them. As I'm thinking about next year and how many games I got to cover this year so far, it doesn't feel like I'm ever going to really find a lot of extra time to play a lot of small games. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We can try to add some things that will increase the odds. For example, Thankful Thanksgiving month, November, where I just play all the games that I got for free in that year, which there's a decent amount of games I get free in the year, and I haven't covered a lot of the games I've gotten free from years previous. That very well may be just a lot of spotlights. An entire month set the spotlights isn't a insane idea. Let's see. But in general, since I have a lot of AAA games I want to play, it gets back to like the Metro argument. I kind of would like to play the Metro games, but I've got so many other good games and so many other things that I already know I want to play. Covering LA Noire is an example of that. It's a game I've played before and I wanted to cover, even though I kind of knew, at least in part, that it wasn't the greatest ever. Before I feel comfortable playing another shooter, I want to try and get Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel played. And oddly, E3 did not have any mention of those games. Gearbox was very silent for anything. The only thing they really talked about is how they're selling that, publishing that game Fortnite, and I don't even think that was mentioned at E3. So yeah, I would say the Steam sale in particular has caused me to rethink how my channel is going to go next year. Things certainly could happen, things certainly could change. I'm on the verge of failing and needing to really knock it down to 4 series per day, but I'm struggling along trying to see that doesn't happen. I'm also right now trying to embrace the idea of doing 45-minute episodes instead of hour-long episodes, and going a month and a half long, or closer to a month and a half long, instead of going a full 1 month on a 30-hour game.
I foresaw.
Do I have anybody online playing Hearthstone? Let's look here. Nope, nobody online. And see, in the next episode, well, I don't even know if there is going to be a next episode. That's the weird thing, is, come to think of it,
I foresaw.
he's going to run out of cards at this rate. So am I. Well, I need to make a next episode, but at this rate, you know, I might also be done with the recording, because I've done as much of the things as I can. I guess that means I would go over to the European server. That would be my next thing, as we yeah, if I get the 2 daily quests that I can get done, because I can't do the Tavern Brawl, then then my only choice is to move on to the European server. And then we've got a small amount of news. So as soon as I finish that news, I think I'll probably just end the recording. So we may go only like 30 minutes.
Yield the power.
Which I'm okay with that. Hearthstone in particular, I'm cool with the times wildly varying.
How many fingers do you see?
I can't do that.
See, the way this is... happening. See, he still has a chance if he has a bunch of overload cards or anything. Might be able to play control and take out 30 health. Let's just see what happens.
Well played.
So unless he has like power overwhelming or something that gives a lot of attack to all his characters, I don't see how this works. Yeah, it feels like he needed to play shaman cards, and I needed to play priest cards, and so we worked together even if we didn't realize we were working together. 45 minutes, still nobody even said hi on the chat. That sucks. This is kind of what I imagined though it was gonna be. I'm honestly surprised and thankful that I got any comments ever on any of the streams, because I imagined I was just gonna live stream the first time and nobody would get on and nobody would say anything and I would get no extra views, and I would just say, well, this just proves that YouTube streaming doesn't work, and that's not the case. Even when people don't get in the chat and talk, that more people watch for at least a second. I would have loved to see at VidCon them approach and talk about the vast number of live streaming channels that are violating copyright or just full of music that also is violating copyright, or like, because if they started putting the kibosh on that, if they stopped the ones that are full of this is Family Guy episodes, surely you know that Family Guy episodes shouldn't be on here, or this is radio music, so it should be in a different system, because obviously there's no way any YouTuber is going to compete against somebody turning on the radio in the background and listening to it. So obviously that channel is going to get more watch time as it is, because there's it's passive listening versus active watching, which also means that the ads being seen in something like that is probably incredibly low. So it's not going to make any money. If YouTube wanted to do a YouTube radio and its play music thing, which it already has, but if they wanted to better integrate that, I'd be fine. I'd be fine with people saying this is a radio only station and this is a music channel, and as long as it can recognize those and segregate those and not have them be the always most watched live stream and the always suggested live stream, I'd be fine with it. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. We're in a weird position, but we still need to play some more priest cards. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to a live stream / recording of Hearthstone. Last stream was a little bit ranty, and we're in a little awkward point here. I need to do more priest cards. I can't do anything with the Tavern Brawl. Like, nobody's online pretty much at all. I'm playing just probably at a bad time. So let's hop in here. Most of the important video game news I didn't get around to covering last recording, so or earlier in the stream if you were watching, but actually I know nobody's watching right now. That is one of the issues, is I wonder, should I mess up my own stream quality and just play my own video and have at least one person watching? Effectively have a sock puppet account, or try to do that, which YouTube should be able to detect that and not reward me for watching my own videos, but it sometimes seems like it does. There have been times when I've accidentally left the stream preview, because when you are on the page to live stream on YouTube, it starts playing your own video for you automatically, and I've left it running, and I'm like, well, I need to stop it streaming so I have more bandwidth so I can upload.
The light shall bring victory.
Never really gotten any complaints on the video quality, and I keep fishing for complaints on it because honestly I feel like it's not the greatest, but maybe I just did a better job than I thought I did getting the settings right. Anyways, video game news and some Nintendo news. Elder Scrolls fans are sort of upset about the non-lore friendly four-legged dragons in Elder Scrolls Legends. So apparently in Elder Scrolls, a wyvern, I think, is a four-legged dragon, and a dragon is always two-legged. So take that with whatever grain of salt you want. I get the idea, though. I mean, Elder Scrolls is an incredibly long fantasy Tolkien-esque world, kind of like Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons. I could certainly see people saying, like, no, we want you to follow the lore you've already established. Like, very rarely is the lore so badly written that it can't be integrated. Take, for example, the Klingons in Star Trek versus the Klingons in Star Trek The Next Generation versus the Klingons that you see for the rest of the series. It's like they look completely different, and they just found a way to write it around and hint that something happened, and that's why they look completely different. Don't kill my guy, please. Thank you. There's this kind of odd MMO coming out called Gigantic, which is a 5 versus 5 first-person shooter. that is also, no, it's not a first-person shooter, it's a first-person brawler. And it's going to launch July 20th on Steam, and it's on Windows 10 right now, in beta. So it's kind of like a MOBA, not an MMO, it's a MOBA. But yeah, I just don't. I'm not sure about it yet. I'm not sure if this is going to turn into one of those games that could actually succeed in that crowded field. I guess speaking of crowded fields, Quake Champions is going to run through Steam. It has confirmed this. Right now it's only Bethesda.net, but it's not going to be an exclusive. I don't think we'd see a Bethesda.net exclusive, particularly when you think back to E3 and how they really didn't announce enough things to justify something like that. Let's see, how do we want to do this? This. And then this. I'm going up to ranked. I should probably play standard at a certain point and see if I can get standard up to rank 2, but right now, since we're on a winning streak, never stop a winning streak. The Forza Motorsport studio, Forza Motorsport 7 studio, called Turn 10, is, quote, learning to become PC developers, which I guess that's a good thing. Like, I suppose in the long run, that's every video game studio, is as PC gaming becomes more and more ubiquitous. People are going to have to learn to be PC developers first, particularly also since the consoles are mostly PCs themselves. The thing that's the difference between making something for console and making something for PC is you just have to be better at standards. Like, follow the actual standards, I imagine. This is my speculation here. And not code in poor ways to only work on one system. Which is a good way to program anyways, because the last thing you want to have to do is try to port an Xbox original game to Xbox One and then look at your code and say, well, this won't work because it was specifically timed to the RAM speed of the Xbox original, and this won't work because it was specifically hard-coded to access the video card in the Xbox original, and this won't work because the hard drive speed is faster in the Xbox One. And there's a lot of old games that clearly work that way and see that way. There was in the early days of PCs, lots of programs like that. That's why the turbo button used to be on computers, is that there were programs that only worked at 33 megahertz and would mess up if get another victory. So you could turn on the turbo button when the program would run at 66 megahertz, but some of them wouldn't, so you'd have to hit the turbo button and turn it off, which is pretty crazy. Although that is still what hyper-threading is, roughly, to this day, with a lot more technology behind it. Moving on, I probably already announced this, but like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds made $100 million in 13 weeks, and a lot of video game critics are certainly loving that game. But as somebody who really isn't gonna play a game that requires that many multiplayer people against a bunch of multiplayer people, that I don't see myself ever doing that. Maybe I would do a spotlight on Battlegrounds at, oh, I don't know, once it's at a 1.0 finished state, it still feels like it's being updated. It feels like one of those early access games that will get really popular, and by the time they're done adding features to it, it will have worn out its welcome. There is something flawed in the thinking of a lot of the video game creators, that they feel like they can get away with making a game that will only be popular for a month or two, and can constantly work to constantly try to work on it, improve on it, and thinking that, well, they've made their $100 million now, but as soon as the final version comes out, they'll make even more, and it's just not how it's gonna work out.
In the light's name.
Extraordinary.
I'm playing a little too well. This one's gonna quit too if I'm not careful. There's this Japanese game called the Snack World. It's colon, I think it's TREJARERS, which is almost like Treasurers with a J. Has been delayed to August 10th for the 3DS, and it's coming to smartphones in 2018, but it's only doing any of that in Japan. So I've got a decent number of games actually were announced in Japan. They come up
I have no time
more,
for games.
and I don't know if that is because I just don't see the ones that aren't Japanese games that come out, or if I just have a better understanding of which ones to ignore. It very well may be a case of a better understanding of which ones to ignore. In the Western world. Oh, that was stupid. That deserves an oops.
Quite what was planned.
We Happy Few is going to have its second to last update in August. That, I don't know if you want to phrase that as they're either going to have to give up or this is their last chance. I think from the word go, We Happy Few felt like it was selling itself as a completely different game, and its last I heard was getting a TV series, and I think that's probably a better way to go about this for them, since the story is more interesting than the gameplay mechanic that they're trying to do.
Side effects? No.
But
Trust.
I don't think you can change that game to be what people thought it was going to be. Not easily. Kind of like how LA Noire, if the rumored VR version of that game comes out, that's going to be a completely different experience. And LA Noire really should be a Telltale game. Had The Walking Dead by Telltale come out before LA Noire, you would have seen a completely different style of gameplay from it. Well, you should have. I feel like it should be the We Happy Few should be a heavily scripted, story-based adventure with maybe some collecting, maybe some crafting, but nowhere as much. Now, arguably, people should have not given We Happy Few any chances, and definitely not a last chance, because frankly there's never been anything in that game that should have gotten anybody excited other than the visuals, and visuals trick people all the time on Steam. Like, I'm sure, I'm almost 100% certain that I put some games during the summer sale, which the Steam summer sale is going a little longer than I thought it would. It's going on till July 5th.
Anduin versus Jaina.
I'm almost 100% certain that I have been tricked to put a good-looking game that doesn't play that well in my wish list. Hayden, I suppose, I think that's the name of the game, is a good example of that. It's a moderately okay game where you platform and crawl, but the visuals, they decided to use it for the main character as a woman with a giant butt that you see as she's crawling through the grates and tunnels, and certainly that's gonna sell a few more copies. Although, oddly, they just came out with a report that said actually sex doesn't sell. That it doesn't cause people to remember your brand any better. And I could see that argument, certainly. Like, if people are too busy looking at the pretty model, I could see them not remembering whether it was Coke or Pepsi or McDonald's or Burger King that was selling it. And that's very odd, because that kind of was, for decades and decades, the way they sold things. Particularly if you go back and look at like men's magazines that had video game sales in the early 80s, like there was some really awful advertising there that probably didn't sell anything, and that probably is another reason why the video game industry crashed. Let's play this. Speaking a little bit of the history, the Nintendo Super NES Classic has been announced with a new Star Fox game, which is really going to be the just clippings of an unfinished Star Fox game for the Super NES. It's also going to have 21 games, HDMI. It's coming out September 29th for $79.99, so it's a little bit more expensive than the previous NES Classic. It seems like it might have the same controllers, or they've made new controllers that at least look like the same plug as the original SNES controllers. So they're not reusing the extra Wii connectors. I imagine the cords might be longer too. I imagine they'll fix that. No note though whether it has like updates or internet controller connectivity so that you might be able to download new games. That would be the thing to fix. It's like if the SNES Classic came out and it worked perfectly and it connected to the eShop and you can download more and more things. Let's see. Then they might have a real winner in their setup. And then I could imagine if the SNES Classic worked really well, the next console that they would have to come out with would be a Nintendo 64 Classic. And I'm not sure how many Nintendo 64 games they could really get compatible with that, but maybe they could get enough. But they might decide to skip the Nintendo 64 Classic for a while and come out with a version 2 of the NES Classic, and use that as a way of doing a better version
Face the light.
of the original. That wouldn't be a terrible idea if they came out with in 6 months or so a version 2 of the NES Classic that had internet connectivity, allowed you to buy more games and add them, had either wireless controllers or longer cords and connectors to use the original NES controllers, which it's really not that hard to, even in today's day and age, to find an NES controller, and they probably still work just fine. Moving on. Hey, Loki is online. He says boo, B-O-O. What are you booing? It's too early for Halloween, Loki. Nice to see Loki back online. I tried to play him. I don't know if he had to go somewhere or if he had already disconnected or not. He hasn't been on the chat for a few streams, and I was missing him in particular.
You require my assistance?
Loki asks, how am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. I've got my new TV set up so I can actually see when you type in the chat a little bit faster and respond to it. I'm working through a small amount of news that we have, and I've messed up. I traded the wrong daily quests, so I have to do 5 Tavern Brawls, and I don't think we can play each other on Tavern Brawls, like, because the Tavern Brawl is gone. We can do quests with friends now. That is absolutely true. Sure we'll play. As soon as I'm done with this game, I'll send you a friend invite. As you got the TV done, how do I like it? The TV is great. It is the perfect out of picture setup that I could have ever wanted as a greedy TV viewer. Mostly, though, I've used it because it's a smart TV to watch Netflix. It's taken my PlayStation 3 out of the loop, and I can have Netflix. Yeah, I can't re-roll. I clicked the wrong one and re-rolled something else. That was the problem. So the only main issue is there's a lot of going to the video control panel and disabling the monitor when I'm playing other games, because I want my video card to use all of its processing power only on a single screen experience. So I disable using the screen at all, so you can't do the Tavern Brawl when I'm playing something else. But every 3 days when I'm streaming, I bring it back up. There is some hassle with it, in the sense that, let's see, what do I want to play? Let's try one we haven't done in a while. Discard draw. Let's try that. So, because it's a 24-inch monitor, it's a small TV, and that's what I wanted. Something that didn't take up a lot of room, because at some point in the future, I might end up having 4 of them, or at least I was thinking that. Although with the new OBS Studio, you really don't need more than 2. At least I don't right now. The only thing I could imagine needing another monitor for is like E3, where I might want a stream going directly so I could watch it and get it at full screen, versus while watching a preview of what's streaming and playing Hearthstone on a third screen. It gets harder and harder to justify even a third screen. Plus, that puts more demand on the video card. Are you running a single GPU? Yes, that's how it is right now. Is that, although I don't know if it technically is a single GPU, but it is one GTX 970. So that is how it is right now. Hopefully by this time next year they will have announced a new line of video cards, and I will have what would be the equivalent of an 1180 or an 1190 or 1180 Ti or a Titan, whatever is higher. 1180 or better is what I would like to have happen. Okay, it's one. You should be able to hook a monitor up to. Yeah, there's on the back of my connector I have an HDMI. I have 4 mini display, not display port, but DVI connectors, and I have 2 regular size DVI connectors. And I'm buying the cords. I don't know how many actual connectors I could use at the same time before the whole system just started locking up or such, but in theory, the way that looks, it kind of looks like I could have as many as, let's see, 7 monitors hooked up. Like, I don't know if 7 monitors would really work, but I'm getting the cords and such just to see if that's the case. Even if I did get like the best video card right now, like a Titan X, and I don't think I'd ever want to do SLI, and then had my 970 running the second monitors and the Titan running the computer, which is what I'm planning on doing, is keeping the 970 for the backup monitors and such. Even doing that, there's a high chance I'm going to run into a bottleneck in
Hey, give me that.
let's see. Let's try this. Like, my CPU might get bottlenecked anyways. Like, having 2 moderately powerful here we go, we'll draw a couple more cards.
Job's done.
Showing off here. So so even if I did have a better video card, my CPU may just lock up because it can't handle it. Let's see. Look, he said you would need a second GPU Crossfire to have that many, I think. I don't know. Like, I just know how many physical ports are in the back of it. I'm not certain how many of those actually could be used at the same time. Ideally, I don't want to have to find out either. Let's see if this works. And then kill this one in return. But yeah, that's my plans right now. I'm happy to announce that I'm probably fully recovered from that cold. I was having a cough for a long time. That is always an issue, is that colds go on longer than you would like. And I'm starting to slightly feel like I've recovered from that too, because now that I'm able to get 5 episodes, even though the episodes now are 45 minutes long, but I feel like I'm more able to do it. Loki asks, how many ports does it have? It has 1 HDMI. It has 4 mini DVI, I think are the name of the ports. Not to be confused with mini DVI or Thunderbolt, or I don't know. I don't even know what the name of it is. It's a connector I've never used or seen before. But 4 connectors of something, and then 4 of the big square DVI ports. And so there's seems like you could have 7. There's 7 ports in total. It seems like you could have 7 of them. Plus, it also, I think, connects to my motherboard, so that's another card that that's another port that might or might not work, but I probably would never use the motherboard one because that is the Intel, not mini HDMI. I don't know. I'm gonna write that down and find out what mini HDMI looks like. Are the jacks white? All the jacks are metal. It's all on the back plane of the video cards. So there's no color on any of them. I think I bought the right cord, and it took Amazon a long time to deliver it. So tomorrow is the day that the cord that's going to work on that connector shows up, and my hope is that I'll plug that into the TV and it works. And if it works, I'll buy the 3 copies of it. So I have the right number of connectors. Let's see. There's a new toggle called DisplayPort, which is better than HDMI. Yeah, and I accidentally bought 3 DisplayPort to HDMI adapters thinking it was that connector already in. And so now I've got these 3 adapters that don't work on it. And see, as soon as I get all of this set, what's going to happen is I'll buy a new video card that has all different kinds of plugs on it. And I know on 4K, if you want to go to a 4K monitor, a lot of times you have to plug in maybe 2 HDMI connectors, which I don't know if my video card could do that anyways, but I know they talked about that on Digital Foundry, how you could do 4K on a budget, but you had to lower some of the quality things. Quality settings. This.
I'm almost out of cards.
This.
I'm out of cards. Job's done.
Managing to draw as many cards as possible. Let's see, how much damage can I do to myself? Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm not up enough on the connection. I know DisplayPort was the best for a while, but I think also HDMI 3.1 has now combined with DisplayPort. So if you have an HDMI 3.1 or maybe it's 4.0, it seems like the HDMI connector is going to be the standard connector, and it would be the one I would bet on. Because I know DisplayPort and Thunderbolt are kind of the same thing, and it was something a lot of people were really interested in, but they didn't make that many monitors that used it. Like, and see all of this just kind of is up in the air until like NVIDIA announces what would be the 1180 for their next generation of video cards, and then I buy that and then see what connectors are on that. As long as there's some sort of adapter that can go to HDMI, I am cool with it. Let's try this one. Like, I don't want to go above 1080p anyways, even though you can do 4K on and 2K on YouTube. People's internet's not good enough to download it, and my upload is nowhere good enough to upload it. So I just want a more powerful video card that can handle it. And particularly, I wouldn't even really want a new video card. Loki says display ports are the newest format. Well, yeah, depending on which version of which, because they keep coming out with different versions. Like, I know HDMI is older, but they keep coming out with a new one. So HDMI, it's like the Wi-Fi standard now, too. It's like they're working on 802.11ad to replace 802.11ac, which replaced N, which replaces G, which replaced B, replaced C, and then B, and then A. It just so it just keeps on getting updated. I got a little bit of news here. Let's finish this for a second, and then I'll respond to Loki some more. SteamWorld World Dig for PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC is coming out late this summer or early fall. Prey can be glitched to win under 7 minutes, and like, I imagine that's true for a lot of games, that you could glitch and speedrun for a relatively short amount of time. It depends on how popular the game is, though, whether people will continuously do speedruns. Apparently there's a Micro Machines game by Crow Team that I've been mistaking for a Micro Machines DLC for another racing game that's coming out. I don't even know the name. Sword Art Online Hollow Realization DLC Chapter 3. Some of these Japanese expansions are crazy with their name titles. That's going to launch June 29th in Japan. Chapter 2 hasn't even been released outside of Japan. Sword Art Online still rather popular. Let's see. Let's do this and this. And then attack. Similarly badly named Excel World version. Excel World versus Sword Art Online DLC. So there must have been a Sword Art Online announcement. Castaway from a Different World. Version 2.0 of the DLC is going to launch in July 7th in Japan. So there must have been a conference or press release there. And then, sticking with the anime themes, 7 Deadly Sins, the Britannian Traveler has been announced for PS4. I think there wasn't any more evidence on that, information on that, so there's a chance, at least, that that's going to come out in other outside of Japan. There's a slight difference in saying something is going to come out outside of Japan and something is coming to the West, but it's almost the exact same thing. Like, because things could go to Europe and just never come to the West, or things could go to Russia or China or any of the other Asian countries. Almost done with the news, and then I'll get back to Loki. Modders have added fidget spinners to Dark Souls. I feel like I've done a good job on not mentioning fidget spinners, but since it's video game related, I certainly could have tried to do some video about fidget spinners and ride the wave, but that's just not what I want to do with my channel. It's cheesy, frankly.
Job's done.
It's silly. I just don't want to go down that route. Pokemon Go raids have now lowered the level again to level 20. And Warframe, I don't know what Warframe is, but it's updating and adding the Dark Priest Harrow. So I'll take that into an announcement. And then that's all the news. So now we can look at Loki's comment again. Loki's talking about it, saying DisplayPorts looks like an HDMI with the edge chopped off. Yeah, it has this. I know what the connector looks like because I bought the adapters. Loki says I found a fidget spinner in the parking lot. Those things are crazy. Like, the thing that's the silliest part of the fidget spinners is they fail on their stated goal of allowing somebody to fidget and not be a distraction to others. The fidget cube, on the other hand, is something that was designed to be put in your pocket, and then discreetly you could be fidgeting it with it in your pocket, and then just look like you're messing with something in your pocket, or have it discreetly like under a desk in school or something. Even the fidget cube kind of failed at that because it wasn't a completely silent device. It was specifically designed to make some clicky noises, which would have easily gotten it banned. I've seen some people with extreme ADHD that it felt like that might work for some of them. Loki says, yeah, they are noisy. But the fidget spinner inherently is like a sideways yo-yo. You're specifically bringing it out, showing it to your friends, distracting your friends. You're probably doing this in class if you're a kid. You're probably getting them taken away. You possibly are getting arrested for having a fidget spinner, because that's what they do to kids these days sometimes. And sadly, that's not an exaggeration. That has happened. But yeah, there's no quiet way to play with it, and it's not an interesting toy if you just look at it as a toy. It is a worst version of a yo-yo, because at the very least, if you're into yo-yos, there have been a couple of crazes in my lifetime of yo-yos coming back into being popular. You can do tricks and different things, and it's a little physical playing with a yo-yo. Fidget spinner, at best, you're going to get it spinning on your finger, and maybe you could do something that is the equivalent of plate spinning, and throw it up in the air and then catch it on a finger like you might do a spinning basketball. But honestly, it feels very much like the only reason this exists at all is because YouTubers and streamers made a big deal about it, and that I don't agree with that idea. I can't get behind the concept of YouTubers being tastemakers instead of being content creators or reporters. Like, I watch Slick Deals a lot for sales. I watch it too much. In fact, it's an obsession with shopping. And there's this Batman fidget spinner that goes on sale for 10 cents. And it doesn't even look like a fidget spinner. It looks like a Batman thing, a cheaply made thing. And I'm like, this fad is already dead. when they can't even sell something that looks like a batarang for more than 10 cents. Of course, if you try to actually buy it, you might end up having to buy a bunch to avoid having to pay shipping and handling. Or maybe you end up paying shipping and handling no matter what. And see, you probably the fidget spinner thing would be a weird thing to see an adult play with too. Like, we're in a more modern society, so adults are allowed to play with some things. Like, I wouldn't bat an eye if an adult was playing with a Switch or playing games on their phones, but if I saw them pull out a fidget spinner, I'd be like, what are you doing? That must be your kids. Even that teenager, I'd be like, what are you doing? Don't you have better things to do? I could see 4 or 5-year-olds being interested in a fidget spinner for a little bit. But it's such a fad. I'd really like to see the world get away from kids and other people falling into fads. I'd like to see us have more diverse. This Murloc card you play cost health. What did that say? Next Murloc you play this turn costs health instead of mana, but it still costs mana. Well, how many corrupted seers do I have? Well, I played that Megafin and it gave me a bunch of them. So I don't think I have any more. Although I could possibly summon some more if I try really hard. That's Loki asking me how many corrupted seers I have. Yeah, I would have really thought, though, as far as fads, that would have been done. In all realisticness, after cell phones became popular enough that we could all have the internet in our pocket, and the internet became big enough that everybody could be more diverse, I would have thought fads that happened would have stopped. I would have thought the Ice Bucket Challenge, which, alright, that had some kind of charity thing behind it. Another thing that was highly pushed by YouTubers. But I could have seen the Ice Bucket Challenge fail and not be a big thing. I could have seen a lot of the other characters, a lot of the things past them not happening. But I guess fads will just constantly happen. And as a YouTuber, fads are kind of the things that the YouTubers that want views in it for anything chase. The bath salt fad, the makeup videos fad, the guys trying to put on their girlfriend's makeup fad. They come quick and leave even quicker, honestly. What's funny is that this isn't even my best Murloc deck, but I don't know why I have 2 Murloc decks, honestly. Probably just because I needed something to win shaming games with. I'd like to try my new deck. I built a new deck because I needed to play cards that were 8+. So I'd like to try that. lastly here, as we kind of need to wrap up Loki. So if we do one more game, that's kind of what I'm shooting for. Yeah, I don't have anything really to do here.
What is a loon's will?
No, I don't need any wins. Like, the only thing I can do, so yeah, if you want to take the victory, that's fine. If you, let me know also if you've got any daily quests you need help with, because I'll stay and play some more if you need my help. But I'm stuck. Tomorrow I'll have to do 5 tavern brawls. I guess maybe I'll stream that, and that'll be weird. But I guess I'll come back live tomorrow and do 5 tavern brawls, and if people are online when I'm online, we'll try to get those done through the friendly battles too. I didn't read all of the things. Is that the second time he's done that in this game? I think it might be. This is a nice card. Loki, did you hear about the way they're changing how packs work now? Every time you open a new series of packs, so next expansion, in the first 10 packs you're going to get a legendary. However, they've changed it so you cannot get a duplicate legendaries at all, which means if you're trying to get golden legendaries, you won't even be eligible to get a golden legendary until you have every single normal legendary. And I imagine this also means that you can't, if you have a legendary that you didn't have before, you're probably not in the running to get a golden version of that until you have a normal version of that. Loki says, yeah, the pack changes are sorely needed. I'm 95% happy with it, but there is the slight elimination of a chance of getting a golden legendary and then selling that for dust and having an extra 1600 dust, because a golden legendary I think is worth 3200 dust if you sell it. It costs 1600 it costs 1600 to make a normal legendary. Loki says golden legendaries could count as different ones than normal. Well, I don't know how they're doing it though. That's the thing, is because you can't have a normal legendary and a golden legendary of the same card in your deck. I know that's not allowed. So
Malfurion versus Maiev.
So yeah, if you have a like Kel'Thuzul, if you don't have this and you're opening packs, the question is, will you ever be allowed to get a golden Kel'Thuzul before you can get a regular Kel'Thuzul? Because yeah, Loki says golden legendaries is 3200 dust to craft. So this really hurts. This really would have screwed over Kripparrian, who wants all golden legendaries and doesn't have a complete collection, because it's practically impossible to have a complete collection. Let's see, do this and then this. So this is my deck, Loki, built around playing cards that cost 8 mana or more. Apparently that is a daily quest. We don't get it very often though. And I want to just play you normally and see if we can see how strong this deck is, because right now it's at two victories to 0 losses, and it played Golden Kelp Azul is craft only. Yeah, I used a bad example there. Loki's smarter at Hearthstone than me. he's on the ball with all the cards. But I know particularly Criterion had Criterion, the streamer on Twitch, who plays a lot of Hearthstone. He had 600,000 dust when he got rid of all of his extra cards. And he would have had to spend... He did spend all of that dust trying to get the gold versions of legendaries. And he still hadn't made all of the normal ones. And in doing that, he said he spent about $150 each expansion on packs. Loki says, I thought it was 5 or more. I think there's one with 5 attack and there's one with 8 mana. Loki says, I've been playing since early beta. Yeah, and I bet that's how all the good Hearthstone players should have been doing. I should have been playing since early beta. Too. Like, I feel really sorry for people trying to get into this game now. They need to give them like a care package. Let's see. I'm gonna do this, then this, then this.
For the wild.
Going through the European account and the Asian account, Loki says I haven't seen that one yet. And trying to do the setup in the original start is a nightmare. Let's see, gain an empty mana crystal, which then will allow me to draw a card.
For the wild.
There we go. I think what would have made me 100% happy with the card changes is if they just said, you know what, we're going to get rid of normal cards altogether. We're going to convert everybody to gold on everything. And then that would have been amazing. Loki says they have a welcome pack new people can buy that gives them 15 packs and 3 random class legendaries for $5. Yeah. And if you go into the Asian and the European accounts, you can still buy that, but that's hardly a welcome pack when you have to spend $5. Here we go. So now his cards are asleep. Need Astral Communion for this deck. Do I have it in there? Let's see. Well, yeah, I did have that. I played it. That's how I got 10 mana. I don't think I have 2 copies of it. But draw 3 cards. Let's see. Each player draw a card. Do this. Do this.
Job done.
And see if I can survive this next turn, which I have a decent chance of surviving. I can pull off something interesting. Oh, duh, I missed that, Loki said. Yeah. Well, easy enough to miss things, certainly. I do it all the time. Like, I am almost certainly 60% at fault when I lose a game at Hearthstone. because I don't pay attention. I'm talking, I'm covering the news. I'm just trying to sit back and relax.
Who knows what secrets will uncover?
Battle cries. And when you play 4 cards in a turn, revive that minion. Alright. So we do this, and then refresh my mana, and then I do this, then I do this, and I do that.
Job done.
Yeah, I would really, really love if they got rid of all the normal cards and just made everything gold. And maybe they just gave you an option where you could take a box and make them look like the ordinary cards. I feel like the gold element to this game is just cheap and trying to get money out of people. And yeah, for new players though, they need to give them all the classic cards just by default, and then they need to make it really easy to make all the wild cards, particularly since they don't care about wild at all. Like new players have little to no opportunity to ever actually have a collection of wild cards, because it's all dust, and that dust is it's gonna be expensive. Alright. This.
The living flame. Bend to my will.
Yeah, so this deck is not as powerful as I thought it was. I think I just got lucky a couple times. Yeah, I was really surprised when I was winning with this, because I figured any aggro, any Murloc deck, anything that can even play the game slightly well would be able to beat a deck full of 8+ mana things. And certainly I made it easier for Loki to win doing that. And let's see. Each player draws a card. Do you have a quest to do? No. Nope. Not unless you want to go through all the European and Asian accounts and try to help me do all that. But that would probably take you a couple days unless you've already gone through the setup. Like, I know Mahmood, who hasn't been on chat for a while, wanted to play me on the European account, and I have daily quests stacked up there, and I do want to get 700 gold on those accounts so I can buy the first part of One Night in Karazhan before it becomes wild and that expansion gets banned. But that requires somebody that's willing to switch over to those accounts, and then when you switch over to those accounts, you've got to start from the beginning again, and I can certainly understand why nobody would really want to do it. As somebody was asking. Yeah, Loki says I don't have any other accounts, huh? Well, it's the pull down box when you launch from the Battle.net launcher. You just change it to Europe or Asia. It's your same Battle.net ID and such. Yeah. But oddly, I think you might even have to friend people a second time for the different accounts. But when you get in there, you don't have any of your cards, and it's too much of an ask, really, for anybody other than a YouTube streamer who wants to be nice to their fans to start over on Hearthstone. It makes no sense that they do it that way. Anyways, they should just merge them all together. Like, I get plenty of people that play me on the America accounts that have Japanese letters in their name, and I assume they are mostly Japanese people. But and I don't have anybody that has friended me or wanted to play me on the Asian accounts at all, which makes sense. I mean, I'm not speaking their language. I doubt they're seeing much on YouTube, and for a lot of those countries, I'm not sure they even have a live access to YouTube. Alright, that's enough for me, Loki. I'm probably gonna come back tomorrow and do the Tavern Brawls. If you're available, we can do that friendly. Yeah, I was talking about that to a buddy. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to reach out to more of the world, but let's see. I should tweet the Ben Brode and tell him the game needs that. What specifically? I'll do it. Sure. I don't know who Ben Brode is, though. So is he one of the workers? To there. The reason they do it is purely for greed. I know why they do it though. But I'll tweet them anyways, since I don't care. I'll tweet almost anything to anybody. But they want to charge different rates. I'll keep an eye out for your stream. Yeah, thanks, Loki. That's going to be it for this stream. I'll probably be back tomorrow. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.